We begin with economics professor at the University of Ghana, Godfred Bokpin, who has refuted claims by the vice president that the NPP has been more prudent in the management of the current debt situation. Addressing a regional seminar of the Tertiary Education Students Wing of the NPP, TESCON, over the weekend at Cape Coast, Dr. Bawumia said all the facts and all the other macroeconomic indicators have not been in fact impacted by the rising debt levels, and that shows that the economy has been superbly managed. Listen to a report on the Vice President's speech by Richard Kojonyako.
Dr. Bawumia told the students and lecturers the NPP was determined to break the 8. Here's why he thinks so.
I am of the conviction that if we are able to build on this solid foundation, complete all initiated projects, and execute our 2020 manifesto pledges, Ghanaians will give us the opportunity to continue governance beyond 2024. We will deliver and we will break the 8. I am very sure about that. We equally require you to join hands with us in this pursuit and let us see ourselves as collaborators and agents of break the 8. We are committed to ensure that we build an efficient public sector and committed to supporting growth of the private sector as a source of job creation. We are committed to fighting bribery and corruption, and we are committed to building a future for the youth and the next generation and expanding their opportunities for the fast emerging world of technological and digital innovation.
He also touched on the exchange rate management and the high debt levels of the country, saying the sound economic management, even in the face of COVID-19, has led to solid economic indicators, and applauded the central bank for a yeoman's job.
Our city exchange rate management has been one of the best for any first-term government since 1992. One of the best.
But reacting to comments from Dr. Bawumia on the Super Morning Show on Joe 99.7 FM, Professor Bokpin explained that we have not made any significant progress for a country in high risk of debt distress.
No, I respectfully disagree with that assertion. That you cannot totally, in all respect, looking at all the indicators, describe where we find ourselves as prudent debt management. Of course, if you look at it in relation to the other macro variables, we have seen some improvement. But I think we should not set a trap for ourselves in all these comparisons. We should also be looking at it in terms of Ghana's potential and our peers. When you do that, you realize we have not made significant progress. When you look at even the debt levels, and here I'm not going to celebrate the debt to GDP ratio because we do know that it doesn't tell us the entire story. We also want to look at the implications of the rising debt. We want to look at debt service to revenue ratio. And we want to find out from government, has that improved? Would that constitute prudent debt management? The answer would be no, because we are spending more than 50% of our non-oil tax revenue just to service our debt. That is unacceptable by any definition, any day, any time. Because when you look at how much we are setting aside just to service our debts, it leaves very little or nothing for the country to spend on capex. We are talking about the country. We are talking about challenges with roads. We are talking about the restrictions on the growth drivers of the economy. If you are spending in excess of 30 billion cedis just to service your debt, that certainly cannot be described as prudent. If you look at the wage bill, just wage bill and debt service alone takes practically everything away. You can't.
Let's get another opinion on this, and we've been joined by Dr. Patrick Suming, who is also an economist. Dr. Suming, so first of all, would you agree with the Vice President that what we are seeing currently is prudent debt management despite the high debt levels?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. I think You can hardly say that our debt situation is representative of prudent management at the moment. I think if you look at not necessarily the debt to GDP ratio, but the fact that about 60% of all the revenues you collect go to service our debt, it's difficult to say that that is prudent management of the debt.
But could this situation have been avoided in terms of this large percentage of all our revenue going to service our debt? Could it have been avoided?
So there's what the government can control and there's what it cannot control. What it can control is, what it does to collect more domestic revenue. What it can control is what it does to boost and diversify our export base so that we'll be able to generate more revenue to service the debt. I think where you can't fault the government is the measures they've put in place in the last 5 years to expand the revenue base, the digitization efforts. But at the same time, there are other things that the government should have done that it hasn't done. So you can say, in terms of, in the medium term, trying to broaden how we deal with the debt by way of collecting more revenue, you can see something is being done. It's just taking a little bit of time for that to come to fruition. But the other things that the government should have done that it hasn't done, there's a lot of discussion since we were in the IMF program about what we need to do to deal with exemptions, which causes us a lot of revenue. The government has spoken about it. The IMF has spoken about it.
You mean tax exemptions?
It's in the budget that they are going to relay it. We don't know what the delay is. And then also there's always been a lot of discussion about property rates, property taxes. The finance minister has spoken about it. They need to reform that sector, but not much is being done. So while you can say that in recent times, COVID may have contributed to the debt, I don't think all our debt is not due to COVID. So there are some long-term and medium-term things that we haven't done, and that explains why we are where we are.
Dr. Suming, finally, the Vice President talks about how the stability of the currency, for instance, in this year is one of the most stable in the Fourth Republic when it comes to post-election currency fluctuations. Now, the point that has been raised is that should governments be looking at the currency and its performance alone as an indicator of how healthy our economy should be, for instance?
Okay, so the macroeconomic environment matters. Making sure that the currency is stable, inflation is low, that we are on a stable growth path. I think those are important, but the problem we've had is that in the last decade or so, we've had stretches where the macroeconomic environment has been stable, but we haven't sustained it. And even when it has been stable, it has not really translated into the ordinary life of Ghanaians. So, I think we have to talk more about how many lives have been lifted up out of poverty, and how we have addressed the inequality problem, how people's living conditions have improved. Not just stop at talking about how we have stabilized the currency. Even when we do this, trust me, every government has had stretches where the macroeconomic environment has been stable. The question is, what has it done? How has it translated into the ordinary life of Ghanaians? I think that's more important than always talking about how we manage the economy and how we have managed it better than others.
Dr. Patrick Esuming, thank you very much for joining us. Now, the National Labour Commission, NLC, is headed back to court to cite the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, for contempt after UTAG refused to go back to the classrooms in spite of the injunction placed on their industrial action. Executive Secretary of NLC, Ofosu Asamoah, says the lecturer's response to the court order he sought as a clear violation. He says in 24 hours, he will go back to ensure that sanctions are brought against UTAG leadership. He spoke on News Desk.
If the court has spoken and the party decides to defy the orders of the court, the best thing is to take the person to court.
So you are taking UTAG to court?
Yes, we have to go back if they defy the court order.
When will this be?
That should be tomorrow.
Okay. What are you going to seek from the court?
We are going to seek compliance and punitive action for defying the court order.
What kind of punitive action would you be asking for?
We will be citing them for contempt. So if the court finds them guilty of contempt, then the court will apply the statute it wants.
So is your expectation that, for instance, Professor Mafo, president of UTAG, would be jailed?
Oh, no, I don't expect him to be jailed. He has to purge his contempt.
Because I was simply asking that because it's part of the spectrum of sanctions.
Part of it, but it's for the court to decide. But I don't wish him like that. I mean, Ghana prisons are not good. So I mean, that's
Now, Mr. Asamoah there was speaking after UTAG released a statement on Sunday saying they will not call off their strike in spite of this court injunction. They are protesting the failure of governments to restore 2012 salary levels for its members. The action has already resulted in both the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and the University of Ghana cancelling the end of semester exam. Thus, the injunction, which lasted for 10 days, orders the respondent, its executives, officers and members to refrain from continuing with the current industrial action. Meanwhile, Labour consultant Austin Gami is disappointed at both parties for failing to reach an amicable solution.
The Commission maybe want to still move forward in helping the two parties to find a solution. They can engage the services of arbitrators and mediators, which they know what to do to help resolve this problem. There's no call for NLC as a commission itself to necessarily go tackling every bit of an issue. That's not the intent of the law. So I would urge them to think about it. But the first thing is blame game should stop immediately, and both parties should have the nation at heart. Of course, NLC loses nothing per se, but they have their credibility at stake. The UTAG also have their credibility at stake because they have the whole faculty of law and other departments at their disposal to guide them. And also they have access to people that they can contact also. So they should all take it easy and let's have a solution that will satisfy both of them.
Let's turn our attention to other stories. And private legal practitioner Martin Pebu is rallying support from members of the general public to petition Parliament for Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu to be tried by the House for perjury. It comes as a parliamentary committee that probed the Sputnik vaccine deal revealed that government paid Dubai-based businessman Sheikh Al Maktoum more than 16 million cedis for the vaccines, despite claims by the health minister under oath during the public hearing that no money had been paid. There have been calls for the minister to be sacked after the report was made public. A motion by the minority to have the minister censured was deferred by the speaker just before the House rose. But speaking on Newsfile, Martin Pebu said the minister should have gone a long time ago.
Mr. Agyeman-Manu is now embarrassing us as a country. It's as if he's our best talent for that job. But we all know he's not. You see, that's why maybe it appears he doesn't understand public service. Look, there are 1,001 citizens who can perform that job. The president chose him, but he has taken us down a path that has embarrassed us so much. So he just has to go quietly. But you see that he's digging in his heels. And then you have some of our citizens holding press conferences to support it. It cannot be supported. Let's come to this. Samson, you see, the last time we raised this, we mentioned that, look, money must have been paid because even the agreement for the procurement of the vaccine, clause 4.2, itself says that we're to pay for the vaccine with a site LC. Samson, it says site LC.
Right.
From the little understanding, this site LC means when the goods have been delivered, sometimes even not delivered, it's possible for the person to be paid. That's the exporter, the person who supplied, depending on how the contract is worded. But bottom line is that whether the contractor or the exporter should be paid because the goods have left the country of export, or even in Ghana, once you say cite LC, it has certain meanings, okay, that certain documents will be presented. So the argument I'm making is that even without this payment that has first come out, the contract that he signed means that payment was to be made soon after the latest, soon after the 20,000 vaccines were delivered. So on what basis could the minister go to Parliament to say that nothing is being paid? Is Al Maktoum Father Christmas? Is Al Maktoum Father Christmas that he'll give you vaccines, 20,000, and not receive payment? So you see that this thing that he hasn't paid, that's why I believe we have to press the issue of perjury very hard, because Admambenu is not living, and so we have to make the law bite. And in this direction, I'm thinking that I want citizens to join me so that we will present a joint petition to Parliament so that he'll be tried for the perjury in Parliament, okay? Because under the Constitution, if somebody obstructs justice in Parliament, he has to face the law.
Now, in a related development, the Vice Chair of the Parliamentary Committee that probed the Sputnik vaccine deal, Kwabena Mintah Kando, says even though the censure motion was deferred by the Speaker, he will continue to pursue the matter until the over 16 million cedis paid is refunded to the state.
When we're debating the report on the floor of the House, our leaders sought to amend the motion to include censorship. The question has been deferred. Probably will continue when we resume. But the point is that I'm going to follow up with a parliamentary question to make sure that we have evidence to the effect that the money has really been refunded to the state and other issues. So we will. Unfortunately, that is my job. I'm the ranking member on the committee. Yeah. So yes, whether you like it or you don't like it, I must also live up to expectation. So we will do our best.
Now, the Ghana Health Service says it will later this week announce modalities for the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson vaccines procured by the state through the African Union. The over 177,000 single-dose vaccines arrived in the country over the weekend, courtesy the African Vaccine Acquisition Trust, AVAT. Speaking on the AM show Monday morning, Program Manager at the Expanded Program on Immunization, Dr. Kwame Amponsa-Chanu, said the Ghana Health Service will continue to focus on the vulnerable in the country's hotspots. He explains that considering the number of doses, it will not be prudent to attempt to roll out across the country.
By midweek, we'll conclude the final plan. We will still go according to the vulnerable population in terms of hotspots and also those who are hardest hit.
All right. So is it going to be based just in Accra, or it's going to be all over the country?
So it will be difficult to spread 177,000 doses thinly across board. It won't yield any effect. So we are just looking at a couple of places. Otherwise, it will not be effective.
So a couple of places are saying greater
within the hotspots.
Within the hotspots.
Yes.
Right. So it's obvious that there were a number of people who had the first dose of the AstraZeneca.
That is right.
Okay, but they won't be giving this dose.
No,
we can't combine the two.
No, we still haven't changed the policy of. But remember, Johnson & Johnson is one dose, the one dose schedule.
Yes.
For the others, they are two dose schedule. And so anybody who received AstraZeneca will receive AstraZeneca second dose. And we are working around the clock together. So in our estimation, before the end of the month, we would have received some AstraZeneca for those who will need who require the second dose. So that shouldn't panic at all.
So the other challenge is that with the Johnson & Johnson, we're supposed to have a particular cold chain system in place. Do we have that for the
that is not quite right. What is right is that Johnson & Johnson requires the ordinary cold chain.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
You probably are talking about Pfizer. That's a different thing.
All right. So we're ready to roll this out without any...
Yeah, we don't have any issues with cold chain at all. It's just like AstraZeneca.
Let's stay in the health sector, and the government agenda 111, aiming to construct hospitals in underserved districts across the country, is finally taking off this month. President Akufo-Addo, who announced this as part of his tour of the Bono East region, said the designs, site and other logistics have been secured for work to start. Addressing the chiefs of prime in the region, President Akufo-Addo said COVID has exposed the weaknesses in the country health sector, but has also provided the opportunity to fix them.
Sena district hospitals are Ghana, 101 districts, NEB, out of the 260 districts they were mem. Then also and more impum dear. The Mami program agenda 111, Approve West come and check Busumi Mono, the Baba Commission 101 district hospitals now agenda 111 designs ye contractors ye land has been secured all across the country, and this month we will commission and begin the construction of the yare by me husanya me mienu kwasi afaso ye become self-reliant focus in our health care, having access to health care for everybody. Now, for instance, no vaccine. I know yes, vaccine wa brought for home. If you say ochire bibiom, and say banasa. Say sa nyanse who time Ebola no buy anke ABN they buy ambetuyensa. Next time, we're going to produce vaccines here in Ghana under Ghanaian leadership for our country. And Chidana, the way say, a higher big agricultural area for investment. I have appointed myself Prue West Agriculture Investment Promoter and number.
And that was President Akufo-Addo there, explaining basically what we said earlier, that he observed when he came to office that 111 districts across the country do not have hospitals. And so he embarked on a program to see to it that these districts have hospitals. He said that the sites have been selected, the designs have been done, the contractors have been chosen. And so this month, he's going to do the commissioning of these projects. And by that work, with that action, work will begin. He said up 101 across the country. He also said that COVID-19 has revealed the need for the country to be more self-reliant in its healthcare systems. Let's move to other stories. And public law expert Professor Kweku Asare says there is no basis denying Ghanaians with dual citizenship from holding key public offices. The D&D Fellow in Public Law and Justice at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, believes the restrictions in the law, especially in the Citizenship Act 2000, Act 579, Section 16, should be removed to allow these persons equal opportunities of bettering the country with their skills and resources. He was speaking on the law.
All hands on deck. If you are a Ghanaian, we want you to be involved. Number two, we appeal to the patriotism of these dual citizens when you are trying to sell diaspora bonds and so on. Then it doesn't really ring honestly when it comes to political office to say, well, we doubt your patriotism. If you doubt their patriotism for holding political office, why do you trust them when it comes to selling diaspora bonds or even encouraging them to send you their remittances? The third reason is practical. Any system that excludes 10% of the population from parliament, from sitting on the apex court, I mean, somebody like them from sitting on the apex court, from holding all these other offices, have to come across as fundamentally flawed.
Now, Communications Minister Eslo Osuekufo is asking young women in Ghana to stop posting their nude photos and videos on the internet. According to her, such acts are stored permanently digitally and may cause them job opportunities and huge embarrassments in future when they have attained certain statuses in society. Addressing a conference of the 21st Century Woman at the University of Cape Coast, Mrs. Ekufu indicated that many women are nursing regrets and are bearing the brunt of their acts of yesterday. Richard Kojonyako reports.
The Minister for Communication and Digitalization intimated the internet, though good, its dangers could be worrying. Addressing the 21st Century Woman episode under the auspices of the Center for Gender, Research and Documentation at the University of Cape Coast, Esla Ekufu asked young ladies to be on guard in their quest to use the internet to enhance themselves. She spoke extensively about the digital footprint and says it never forget the acts of yesterday.
I know a lot of young people enjoy taking nude photographs of themselves or putting their whole lives out there, but be careful when you do that. You may delete it from your device, but the footprint of that image is stored permanently. And when I mean permanently, it is there forever. For those who know how, they can always retrieve that. And it may be a source of deep embarrassment to you 10, 20 years down the line when you're confronted with the foolishness of your youth, which is there permanently for everybody to see. Thankfully, we didn't have that in our days. So the mistakes we made are lost in the sands of time. Yours are kept forever, so be careful.
Madam Esla Ekufu asked the women to use the internet to seek diverse jobs and improve themselves.
There are also inherent opportunities. Now it's become normal to work remotely and to work from home. For women, it gives us the chance to work and earn a living and to take care of our families at the same time.
Let's stay in the central region, and the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church Ghana, Most Reverend Dr. Paul K. Boafo, is calling on governments to treat the church as a major contributor to the development of the nation. According to him, the church knows the sufferings and the vulnerabilities of the people, and its criticisms of government should be taken seriously to reduce the suffering and hardships Ghanaians go through. He was speaking at the 60th anniversary of the Methodist Church since it's gained its independence from the British Methodist Church. Another report by Richard Kojonyako.
The presiding bishop of the Methodist Church, Dr. Paul Boafo, said the church would always speak for the vulnerable in the society if they are being exploited. He explained a lot needs to be done for the masses in Ghana, and the church would rise to the occasion to put government on its toes to deliver on its mandate.
For us, we will continue to be the conscience of the nation. And as the conscience of the nation, we are always on the side of the people. We look at them, we are part of them, and we even go to the remotest of places. So we know the sufferings, we know the hardships, we know the difficulties. We also know the joys of the people. And so where government needs to be praised, we will do it. And one of such is where we are talking about the free education, for instance. That one, it came as a big boost to all people, which the church really supports. But when it does not go well, where people have no jobs and others, that is where our advocacy comes in, where we are taking for a ride the welfare of people in terms of women, children. We also will come in to speak for the vulnerable in society. So we will say that the government should always treat the church as a major contributor to the development of the nation. Whatever we say is not just for criticizing government, but we know what it means before we come out to say anything. That is where we would want the government to also look at it.
Central Regional Minister Justina Marigodasan acknowledged the church's support in the area of health, education, and other infrastructural support, and said government would do more to improve the livelihood of the Ghanaian. She pushed for a better state and church partnership to develop the country.
Indeed, in education and health sectors, the church has done a lot, and I wish to commend you for this contribution. I wish to state that the government will continue to partner you in this quest to improve the living standards of its people. I I believe also that Christian principles, when deeply rooted in the lives of the members, can help mitigate critical and social problems like child prostitution, armed robbery, upsurge in crime, substance abuse, and indiscipline, among other vices, which are fast destroying our youth, and prefer adequate solutions to combat these social cankers. The church and state need to show collective leadership and commitment to seriously address these unfortunate social issues, militating against the growth of the nation.
The ceremony was graced by bishops from across the country. Richard Kwejenyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
You're live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daze. Up next is business.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, Sugan Rajaram, has hinted of the resumption of vaccine distribution to Ghana by the end of this year. India has been devastated by the third wave of COVID-19, causing the government to halt all vaccine exports to make room for high cases at home. Now, speaking with Charles Aite, the High Commissioner explained that more manufacturing companies in India are ramping up production.
Have a timeline. We have already tied up the manufacturing. We have already tied up with the approvals for the new vaccines, and we are hopeful that every day, on an average, we are doing 4 to 5 million vaccinations. Sometimes it's so on an average is 4.5 million. You can say so. If within few weeks or within few months the situation gets stabilized to the normal and there is no such requirement to do any readjustment what we had to do earlier in terms of advancement of the schedule, I think there will be a situation where India will be in a position to again restart its supplies overseas. I think we are looking forward to such a scenario at the earliest.
So it simply means that the exports of or the supply of vaccines could happen somewhere latest by next year, 2022, because the year is all 4 months
that will
away.
be latest, but it could be because what is happening is we have very conservative estimate that we have done with the existing manufacturers and the existing manufacturing abilities of them for the rest of the year. But the manufacturers are ramping up their productions. At the same time, there are new manufacturers which who are coming up to produce the newly developed vaccines.
The World Trade Organization is raising concerns regarding vaccine nationalism, and India is no exception to that particular fact. How are you balancing the supply chain of vaccines in your country to the prohibition of vaccine nationalism in India?
In fact, vaccine nationalism was never, started from India. In fact, we were against, we are still against the vaccine nationalism. We are the only country who was, as I mentioned to you, within 3 days of our own vaccination drive, we started giving out the vaccines to the other countries, and we have given more than 85 million vaccines as of now till March. After that, it has not been done.
So the full interview with Sugan Rajaram, the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana, is this afternoon at the top of the hour on the Marketplace. Don't miss it with Charles Aite. That's on the Marketplace at 1 p.m. Now, in other news, expert and former technical advisor to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Sameza, has advised government to create an environment that will allow technocrats to speak, critique, and contribute to the development of the country. According to him, technocrats are assets to the country but are unable to speak for fear of being tagged as anti-government. Dr. Mensah also urged government to facilitate support for businesses to help them recover from the shocks of COVID-19.
Actually continue to build a culture in which technocrats are free to speak their mind. You know, very often technocrats are very quiet. They don't say much for fear of offending the minister or offending some of the political leaders. But we need to have technocrats who are open. We encourage them to speak their minds, encourage them to be able to point out to politicians where things are going wrong. We need quite a bit of work in that area. I think the government COVID strategy generally has been seen as being a good strategy. Occasionally there are lapses and then we have to go and start all over again. But I don't think that overall we can say that Ghana has not had a respectable COVID strategy. What we need to do is to accelerate the support that we're giving to businesses so that they can start re-employing people, bringing idle capacity to work, and then creating more employment.
More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. That's the business news for now. Muftau is standing by with sports. Don't go anywhere.
Time now for sports on Joy News today. I am Muftau Nabila Abdulai. Former France international Marcel Desailly has explained why he never handled the senior national team, the Black Stars, despite 2 attempts from the Ghana FA to engage his services. Speaking on the Joy Sports Link with Nathaniel Arthur, Desailly said there were many factors, including his investment into the Lizzie Sports Complex. But what stood out was the structure of the Ghana Football Association, which he never liked.
To happen anymore. My time have passed.
Okay.
I really had the opportunity with Kwesi Nantechi at the time. But like I said, I was building up, the Lizzie Sports and having, a real desire to have my coaching badges at the same time. It was a little bit too early. The timing was not good. The generation was good at the time when they proposed to me to take the job. And when they came a second time, I also identify the generation that we're having down for me to be able to perform.
Okay.
On top of the problem that I was having with the administration. At the time, Kwesi was doing okay after, he fell on making mistakes. But it's quite complicated, the structure of the FA, the board, all the people who come and interfere. I'm somebody quite strict, and a little bit organized. So you cannot really fool around with me. Once you give me the position, I will tell you one example. If the sports minister wants to enter my dressing room before the match, I will block him. Because he has nothing to do in my dressing room. To tell what to my players? Come on, guys, we are counting on you. It's not possible. You cannot come. You stay in your position and I deliver. If I don't deliver, you sack me. So it's something on ego that we have in the system that is very difficult to change.
Let's talk about the Tokyo Olympic stories, where some members of Ghana's 4x100 meters relay team say they're excited to have lived a dream of representing the country in the Olympics. The quartet of Benjamin Azameti, Sensafo Enchi, Joseph Paul Amoah, and Emmanuel Yeboah booked a ticket to the final but were disqualified for lane violation. But Azameti and Amoah and their coach, Professor Andrew Owusu, are proud of their achievement.
I feel good. I feel everything has come by so quickly. Being an athlete, we dream of getting to the Olympic stage. And last time when I spoke to you, I talked about qualifying for the Olympics at the Gusa 2020. In 2021, I'm here in the Olympic Games. So of course, I feel proud of myself and I'm happy to be here.
Joe, what's the feeling like after all the work you put in and where you are at the moment? How do you feel?
I feel excited to be here. Like Benjamin said, it's every athlete's dream to be an Olympian. So being over here, I feel like I've been able to accomplish one of my dreams. Yeah, I mean, as an athlete, it's one of the athlete's dreams. So I feel very accomplished.
Yeah, Prof. How has it been managing the boys and seeing them do the thing? How has it been for you?
For me, it's
it's actually quite humbling to watch them in action, to also see the growth over such a short time. And as somebody who competed in 3 of these games, I am amazed how well they did the first time around, because I remember my first time around, and it's just incredible to watch them. So for me, I am honored to be basically witness such incredible performance. Now, obviously, Joe and Ben are sitting here right now, but Sean is back there, Menu is also back there, Emmanuel Yeboah is back there, as well as Safwan. And I know you get a chance to talk to them, but really working with all 6 of them has been, I think of it as an honor to have been able to be with them at this time.
That is your sports for now with me, Muftahu Nabila Ablai. However, you can head to myjoyonline.com and read many stories. MTN FA Cup final. Hasafok beat Ashanti Gold on penalties to win the double and never had the chance to choose Ghana on the international level. That is Marcel Desailly. His real name is Odenke Abe. And he was born in Accra, but he says he never had the opportunity of playing for Ghana because he had gone through the youth system in France. We appreciate your company. The news continues with Daniel Dassi.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on Joy News. Now, the 7th edition of the annual gospel event TEHILLAH Experience took place at the ICGC Temple Spintex with performances from big names in the world of gospel music, including Phil Thompson. According to organizers, the success of this year's event exceeded expectations and has promised to change the venue for subsequent events. Beyond the Veil is the theme for this year's TEHILLAH Experience, organized by gospel musician Ohima Mercy. With a spirit-filled atmosphere, artists give patrons performances that release all the anointing and blessings behind the veil. Sisi Chum, MOG, Phil Thompson, Francis Samuel, Obapa Chrissy and others were at hand to make sure God was given the ultimate praise and worship. Here is how some patrons I spoke to describe the 7th edition of TEHILLAH Experience.
I think that people have missed God. God has missed our fellowship like this, and we have really proving that we love, God's presence and some of these things. So I trust that a year by this time, probably the stadium will be the best option, like Ohima herself said.
I've been on it on the 7th year, and today is too different because I saw when Mommy was coming on stage, it was raining, and I've never seen some before, which means the Lord's hand on this 2021 TEHILLAH Experience.
Oh, God has done so very well, and I have experienced much. What I say, it's
been amazing in Sansom. I saw the advert and I'm in Ghana. I've worked with Ohima Mercy. When I started my Praise the Lord Gospel Concert, she was one of the artists. So I said, let me come and support, and it's been blessed. I think all the doors will open for me now.
It's amazing. The people, it's obvious everybody here loves Ohima Mercy, and they're here to support her, show her love. And buy from her ministry, her anointing, the gift that God has given her. She's an asset to the country Ghana and the continent of Africa at large. So we thank God.
Ohima Mercy is the organizer of this annual event. She tells Joy News the event, hopefully next year, will be moved to the stadium due to the constant overflow of patrons.
It's been massive, it's been amazing, awesome. The presence of God was so amazing, and you could see that people are going home so much fulfilled. And I thank God for 2021 edition of TEHILLAH Experience.
You did mention up on stage that you'll be moving it to the stadium next year. Finally, you've decided?
Yes, we have really decided that we are moving to the stadium, because we realized that people even were coming, trooping in, but because the whole place was full, some of them have to go back. So we're thinking of gathering everyone at the stadium, and we're working on it seriously.
Rebecca Dako-Cheneboa for Joy News. Well, Danny, you missed a lot.
It was amazing. I streamed.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Were you blessed?
I am blessed.
Praise
Don't I
the
look
Lord.
blessed?
Yes, you do.
Amazing. All right, Becky. Thanks so much for bringing us Showbiz. And this is where we have to end today's bulletin of Joy News today.
For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. That's where you find all the news.
My name is Daniel Daze. Up next is Charles Aite with The Marketplace. He brings you that exclusive interview he had with the Indian High Commissioner to Ghana. Watch us.
Bye.